Good evening. My name is Richard Green, and I am the chair of the Permanent Public Building Committee. My apologies for the mask, but I'm battling a little cold and just want to make sure that the household is protected. So I'll be wearing a mask tonight. Hopefully, you'll be able to hear me. So welcome to the March 10th, 2025 meeting of the committee. Under the Governor Baker's emergency order, suspending certain provisions of the opening meeting law, General Laws, Chapter 30A, Section 20, issued March 12, 2020, and in effect until termination of the emergency, meeting of public bodies may be conducted virtually, provided that adequate access is provided to the public. On March 29, 2023, the remote public meeting provision was extended through March 31st of 2025. As a reminder, this meeting is being recorded via Zoom and will be uploaded to the town's YouTube channel for publication, later viewing, and administrative purposes. The following members are scheduled to participate remotely: Stuart Chandler, Lynn Denninger, Bob Dermody, George Kent, Roy Schifletti, Erwin Silverstein, and I as chair. All votes will be conducted by roll call and recorded as such in the minutes. That brings us to the first item on the agenda, which is the minutes of the February 24th meeting. The chair understands that the minutes didn't come out and were not distributed to the committee until late this afternoon. So I think in fairness to all members, so they can have an adequate chance to review the minutes, I would like to postpone action on the approval of those minutes until the next meeting. Did anyone have any concerns about that? Okay, great. We'll push that over to the next meeting. That then brings us to the Emery Grover project, and for that, I'll recognize Hank. Oh, I'm sorry, Ken, Ken.
I gotcha. That's all right. Let me share my screen here. See if I can pull up the right document here.
While you're doing that, just clarify, Richard, you're gonna move which item to the next meeting, or just move it to later in the meeting?
No, next meeting. So we'll approve the minutes at the next meeting
Oh, okay,
after
thank you.
people have had a chance to review them.
Okay, everyone see that?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you. One of the things I put in the package this month was the punch list and warranty, and I broke this down into three categories. I usually get a question or two about the punch list, so I figured I'd put this in the package, chance to review it, and then any questions. But I did something a little different. I broke it up into actual punch list items, warranty items, and then added items that the staff over at Emery Grover has asked us for. So any questions on you can see it's a limited list, and some of the items can't be done until we get the warmer weather. So anything new? Any
And have
questions?
all the elevator issues been resolved?
Yes, it turns out there was a bum pot that they found that it took them a while to troubleshoot it, but they replaced that, and knock on wood, no issues since.
So it's safe to use them
Yes.
and not
yeah.
get.
I get my steps in by using the stairs, Michael, but
I do too. I just, I hate to be able to, I don't want to look at somebody and say, you know what? Maybe you should use the stairs.
yeah.
Hi, Ann, you have a question?
Yes, thanks. Ken, just wondering about the third floor technology AV setup. What's the status of that?
The IT's handling that. They've ordered stuff. I don't know what what they've got planned on that end. I've got line item in the budget to cover, I think it was 209,000 was the number Will gave me.
Okay.
But I don't know where they are with their ordering or their POs or anything.
Yeah, I believe that the PO has been approved
Okay.
and sent back. Is that correct, Catherine?
I think so.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Perfect. Any other questions or comments on the final punch list?
All right.
Okay, yeah,
Next-
hang on,
Next,
Ken?
next item is, the superintendent received a letter from the neighbors over at the condos complaining about noise that we believe is the, mechanical room, but, we're going to be, doing some testing to figure that out, but a little background, once we got the complaint, we spoke with the architect and their acoustical consultant, and they had done, some sound studies, as is required in situations like this, prior to the project, and then modeled the noise at the property line based on the characteristics of the equipment. And it came out, just below the maximum allowable, which is per DEP. The town has no noise ordinance, so they default to the DEPs, which is 10 decibels above the, I'll just call it the resting, ambient sound, which in this case was 30 decibels. So you have to be at 40 before you have to start making noise reducing measures. And the model came out fine. They're complaining that there's some noise being made. I still haven't found out yet whether it's they just started noticing this, or if this has been an issue from the get-go since the building was occupied, or certainly even before that, because we had the equipment running even before the building was occupied. But be that as it may, we've engaged the acoustic consultant again to do some testing. We're gonna try and do that Thursday night. And Barry, I had sent you an email and followed up again this afternoon. You're gonna be able to have somebody there at 10 o'clock Thursday night to be turning the equipment on and off? Can it be done remotely?
It can be
Is it
done
gonna be-
remotely. I'm
It
just,
can be
I'm just gonna put it in occupied mode.
Well, they need it turned on and off. Each piece has to, everything's gotta be shut off, and then they gotta turn each piece on and off.
Oh, they don't want all of them running at the same time?
No, because they gotta isolate to see which one it might be,
Okay, yeah, we can do that.
okay? All
Yeah.
right. We can talk more about that over the next couple of days, but I just
Yeah,
want.
we'll do it. We'll talk tomorrow.
Okay, but I just want to make sure, so I can get back to Deborah, that that's a good night for the consultant.
Yeah, we can do it. We can do it that way individually.
Okay, all right, thank you. So any questions on what we're doing here to solve the noise complaint? All right. The next item is the ACL. We've got the security bollards, which we have not done a PO yet for. These are at the doors, which in all the entry equipment, security equipment is in just a wood box right now. They gotta pour we gotta pour one small footing and then bolt the other one into the sidewalk. And then the hold open devices for the stairwell door, the north stairwell doors, we run into a hang up with this in terms of the way that it has to be wired. So I have to go back and revisit this with the contractor. And other than that, that's it for updates. I guess, Richard, we can go into the voting items.
And just one other question, I think one follow-up, my recollection is that there was some concern that it was, that one of the stairwells was abnormally cool. Has that been, that issue been identified and resolved?
It wasn't necessarily the stairwell as much as the south vestibule lobby, and we've
Okay.
installed an additional heater in that lobby.
Okay. And that's taken care of it, I presume.
Uh,
Yeah. Okay.
I'll tell you the next time we have a 0-degree day, but
Yeah.
which hopefully won't be until next winter.
Okay. Sounds good. Okay, so we have one change order. Shall I start with that, Ken?
Sure.
Okay. The chair will move that the committee approve the change order from M. O'Connor Contracting. That's change order number 22 in the amount of $3,989.25 out of the general contractor's budget. Is there a second on that motion?
Second.
Thank you, Michael. Discussion on the motion? Okay, hearing none, we'll proceed to the roll call vote. Stuart,
Aye.
Lynn,
Aye.
Bob,
Aye.
George? George, can you hear me? All right, we'll hold off on George for a sec. Roy, I know is not on yet, and neither is Irwin. Michael,
Aye.
Ann,
Aye.
chair votes aye. That's 6. Do we need one? I count 6 votes.
6. So that's good.
Okay, great. All right. George, we'll assume that you were an affirmative.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, there we go. Now we're good. Okay, great. Okay, the next item is a series of invoices. The first is the chair will move that the chair approve the requisition for payment from M. O'Connor Contracting. That's for services through February 2025 in the amount of $41,840.91. That's out of the general contractor's budget. Is there a second on that motion?
Second.
Thank you, Michael. Discussion on the motion? Okay, hearing none. Stuart,
Aye.
Lynn,
Aye.
Bob,
Aye. Aye.
George, thank you. George,
Aye.
thank you. Michael,
Aye.
Ann,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye. Thank you. The next invoice is from BH Plus A. The chair will move that the committee approve the invoice for payment from BH Plus I. And that's for January 2025 services in the amount of $1,954.84. That's out of the architect's budget. Is there a second on that motion?
Second.
Thank you, Michael. Discussion on the motion? Hearing none. Stuart,
Aye.
Lynn? Lynn? Okay. You're on mute, Lynn.
Aye.
There we go. Thank you. Bob,
Aye.
George,
Aye.
Michael,
Aye.
Ann,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye. Thank you. Okay, next we have an invoice from E-Track. The chair will move that the committee approve the invoice for payment from E-Track Incorporated. That's for a key cabinet. That's the amount of $7,949 even, and that's out of the FF&E budget. Is there a second on that motion?
Second.
Thank you, Michael.
An
Discussion on
expensive
the motion?
key cabinet.
Yeah, that was my question, George. Or if just the explanation of what is a key cabinet, please.
It's an electronic tracking, so it allows you to know who took the keys out, restrict who can take certain keys out. So in other words,
Oh,
the
I see.
superintendent can access all of them. They've got the keys for the vans in there. Only the drivers can pull those out. So
Where
it's
is- Where's
Not-
that
not in-
located, Ken?
excuse me.
Where's that located?
It's going in
And
the
we-
closet.
It's on the second floor.
Yeah,
Is
it's
it? Okay.
it's large. We have to open up the wall and block the wall because of how big it is. And what Dan's goal is to put all the master keys for all the schools in there as well. So it's a pretty large box, but we're
Okay.
working on installing it now.
Good. Sounds better.
Yeah, it does. All right, the motion has been made and seconded. If there's no further discussion, we'll proceed to the roll call vote. Stuart,
Aye.
Lynn,
Aye.
Bob,
Aye.
thank you. George,
Aye.
Michael,
Aye.
Ann,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye. Thank you. And next we have one final invoice for under Emery Grover, and that's E.G. Vanderwell Engineering. The chair will move that the committee approve the invoice for payment from E.G. Vanderwell Engineering. That's for commissioning services in the amount of $1,786.00 out of the FF&E budget. Is there a second on that motion?
Second.
Thank you, Michael. Discussion on the motion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to the roll call vote. Stuart,
Aye.
Lynn,
Aye.
Bob,
Aye.
George,
Aye.
Michael,
Aye.
Ann,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye. Thank you. And I believe that concludes the Emery Rover invoices.
There-
Are
there are
there any
two-
other-
Richard, there are two other items. They're invoices, but they're not invoices in the sense that we're paying them directly. But the IT folks had ordered some programming and hardware for their stuff over at Emery Grover. They
Okay,
had done the purchase order. They had paid the invoice. Catherine's going to work with accounting to do a journal entry.
Yep.
To get the money paid by the project. So I think just to be on the safe side, I think we should go through those two. Actually, there's 4 invoices, but 2 contractors. And
Certainly.
Just
How-
include.
how about if we just simply, yeah, we'll just simply move that the committee approve the following invoices. They're incurred by the IT department. How about that? Would that work? Okay.
Perfect.
Okay, great. All right, very good. The chair will move that the PBBC approve the following invoices that were incurred by the IT department to be paid out of the project budget. The first is CCS computer hardware. That's for a journal entry of $334, and these are 2 separate charges.
Two separate charges,
Yeah,
yes.
okay. $334 and $1,428, both even. The second invoice is for Harbor Networks programming, again, a journal entry, the amount of $4,495 and $5,495, both even. And so we'll vote those together, or actually we'll first ask if there's a second on that combined motion.
Second.
Thank you. Thank you, Michael. Discussion on the motion? Okay, hearing none, we'll proceed to the roll call vote. Stuart,
Aye.
Lynn,
Aye.
Bob,
Aye.
George,
Aye.
Erwin?
I'll abstain since I just walked in.
Okay, okay, I wasn't sure when, I didn't see you come out, I was just saying your visit there, so, okay, well, no problem. Michael,
Aye.
Ann,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye. Thank you. Okay. Very good. I think that takes care of Emery Grover, correct, Ken?
Yes, sir.
Very good. Thank you. All right, that brings us to the RTU replacement at Elliott and Broadmeadow. And for that, I'll recognize Ken.
All right, just a quick update. We had some issues with the damper sequencing on RTU 2. That has been solved. The next step is to do a rebalancing, which Barry and I talked about earlier. We'll get that set up, and then that should be able to close out the commissioning on the RTUs there at Elliott. Over at Broadmeadow, we have the roofing package out on the street. Only had one, well, haven't done it yet. We're going to do it Wednesday, but no roofers showed up last week for the tour. I did have one contact me. He had misread the date and wanted to come through, so I'm taking him through on Wednesday. And they're gearing up to get in their April vacation and do some prep work before the bulk of it starts there the day after school lets out in June. So once we get the roofing bids, then we can get that finalized. If you recall, what we're doing here is rather than just making the repairs, which came at a ridiculous price that we felt was a ridiculous price, we're going to replace the roofs in the 3 sections where the rooftop units are, and that's going to require a little ductwork manipulation also, because in some of the locations the ductwork is right on top of the roof. So we're adding about 2 inches of insulation to the roof to bring it up to the code level. So that's where we are. If anyone has any questions, happy to answer them. Otherwise, I think we got a few invoices on this one also.
Discussion by the committee. Okay, hearing none, we'll proceed to the, we have a pair of invoices here. The first, the chair will move that the committee approve the invoice for payment from GGD Consulting Engineers. That's for January 2025 services at Broadmeadow in the amount of $4,000 even, and that's out of the designer budget. Is there a second on that motion?
second,
Thank you, Erwin. Discussion? Okay, hearing none, we'll proceed to the roll call vote. Stuart,
Aye.
Lynn,
Aye.
thank you. Bob,
Aye.
George,
Aye.
Erwin,
aye,
Barry,
Aye.
Ann,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye. Thank you. And the second invoice is from NV5. The chair will move that the committee approve the invoice for payment from NV5 for January 2025 commissioning services in the amount of $591.75 of the miscellaneous budget. Is there a second on that motion?
second,
Thank you, Erwin. Discussion on the motion. Okay, hearing none, we'll proceed to the roll call vote. Stuart,
Aye.
Lynn? Lynn?
Aye.
Thank you. Bob,
Aye.
George? George?
Yes.
Yeah.
Aye.
Okay. Yeah, okay,
Aye.
thank you. Erwin?
aye,
Thank you. Barry?
Aye. Sorry.
No worries, thank you. Ann?
Aye.
Thank you. And the chair votes aye. Thank you. And I believe that's everything we have for the RTU replacement, correct, Ken?
Yes, sir.
Okay, very good. All right, that brings us to our next agenda item, which is library phase 1. And for that, I guess we'll recognize Hank.
Okay. Richard, did you get the updated invoice, the voting items?
I did, yes. Yeah,
I
this.
added
yeah,
one more invoice, Lyra Hill. That
Yes, I
came in
have that.
at 4 o'clock. Okay, great.
yeah, thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, so Hank? Oh, you're on mute. Yeah. You're still on mute.
There we
Yeah.
go.
There we go. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Let me close down this, enlarge this up. So the construction documents were advertised and were released this past week. And prior to that, we concluded cost estimating and cost reconciliation at the 80% CD level. And what I sent out in terms of this summary, well, this is the summary of the cost estimates. And let me enlarge that up. Pull this over. Can everyone see that? What you can see is that at the 80% CD level, we are about at the same as we were total costs at the DD level. The design and pricing contingency got eaten up during that process, basically got redistributed into the actual cost, actual projected costs. And we are we're still within the target range of where we were. And in terms of the overall budget, with the 80% CDs, we're still maintaining the owner's contingency and construction contingency of 15%, which is around 273,000. As we discussed last time, we're not sure how the markets are going to react. And so even though we might in other projects be able to reduce that contingency at this point. I think we need to maintain that until we see what the bids come in at. There'll be the walkthrough will occur next week. And we'll see what interest we get from the various GCs. I know that some people have already downloaded it, but I'll need to check Project Dog. Catherine, I don't know if you double check Project Dog.
I did not today, no.
Yeah. So they keep a running tally of who has downloaded the documents. And we are also within this budget, note 1, assuming that we will have available to us 120,000 funded through the Friends of Needham Public Library and the Library Foundation of Needham to assist in the purchase of furniture, FF&E. Stuart, I see you have your hand up.
Yeah, I wanted to just poke into this a little bit from just looking at a high level, given the market. One thing is relative to construction estimates and everything else. I suspect I think we are going to hit a recession, but I won't procrastinate too much more on that. But I think we are. So I think the construction will come into our favor, I hope. But the real question I have is, can you, at a high level, just look at each category, FF&E, the construction materials, the materials, and just understand where they're coming from? Because if these tariffs continue to like lock in and create market havoc, like they're doing now, because the construction right now is sort of set up for summer into the wintertime, right? So
Correct.
there's 3 or 4 months. It's not like it's going to start today where we can get materials. There's going to be an impact. Could be very little, but I think it would be interesting and helpful to know that if 50% of the materials is likely to come from outside of the US, then, you know, that cost of material, and if 10% of that material is $100,000, okay, just ballpark that says to us that contingency is pretty good.
Yep.
But I think it's worth taking a simple slice at it and say what percentage of this could be affected by the tariffs. And if it's not going to eat more than half the contingency, then I would feel pretty comfortable. But otherwise, you know, unless that construction, those bids come down much, much lower, I think that contingency really is that covering those upticks, if you follow me.
Yeah, as we look at the various categories that are included within the construction, we eliminated that metal screen that was previously in the DD drawings. So we have little exposure there. However, the HVAC will include mechanical units and also adjustments to the ductwork within the space. Those the tariffs on steel could certainly affect that. Likewise, we haven't traced back. Well, we won't know exactly who's furnishing and supplying that, and whether by the time this is constructed, whether they would have sufficient materials on hand or how much ordering they would have to do. It's a relatively small job compared to some other
right. So just
jobs.
in summary, just I don't want to take us too far off track, but I think it's something we've got to look at. If you look at HVAC at 126, and you just took 25% of that, though it'd probably be much lower because there's labor in there, there's a few other things in there I get. But if you just took, 25% on that, you're looking at $30,000 potential. That's fine. Wood, plastics, and composites. Wood, that's, what if wood was 100K potentially on that? That's another 25. That's 50. So we're only about a quarter of the contingency. So maybe just at a rough shot at it, we've got enough in there. But I think it's something we've got to maybe take a pencil to and just ask the question and be prepared.
Yeah, the filed sub bids will be coming in on April 3rd. And the GC bids will be coming in on April 17th. I think the bellwether will be how the filed sub bids come in, because that'll include electrical, HVAC, and flooring.
And they will just in final, I'm sure Lynn, you can give us enough perspective on what's happening, but will they put clauses in their bids that say that if something's affected, they have the right to come back versus fixing it and saying they're stuck with it, given the environment?
We have the right to reject it, I believe, but
No, not us rejecting. I'm saying, if we accept them, I mean, force majeure is the only avenue, but I just think it's a little precarious out there. I'm just not sure if we're, managing the risks or need to manage the risks.
I agree 100%. Technically, it's not force majeure. At least that's what I'm hearing from our internal counsel. So
What,
you'll have to make the decision at the time, whether or not you choose to pay an additional service.
what percentage
It
of the
comes in
bulk,
high.
what percentage of the bulk materials like steel and lumber and drywall are in this estimate approximately? Because those are the three things you're probably going to be acquiring from Canada, or at least two of the three.
yeah. The wood fabrications are probably the largest, followed by, well, those, let's see, 400. And
This is what-
HVAC.
This is light structural steel, right?
Well, there really is no structural steel.
Okay.
It's the built-ins. It's the,
Yeah, so the wood could potentially be coming from Canada. It could also be coming regionally.
Yeah.
And we really don't know until the contractor's on board. HVAC, I think, is, and some of the electrical would be the largest exposure. But wood, if it were all coming from Canada, that would be another big one.
Aren't you getting most of the HVAC stuff from US these days?
Yeah, but they're components, as with cars, they're
Well, yeah,
components that are
that's true.
coming from everywhere.
You never know where they're coming from.
Yeah. So
Well, I think we should just track it, but nothing we can do about it. It's like trying to hit a moving target right now.
yeah. Yeah, and it may be that some of the contractors are saying, public work, I'm going to be competitive on this because I don't know what's coming down the pike in the private sector come this fall.
Yeah.
So I think that would be the uncertainty in the market might be in our benefit, as Stuart, you mentioned. So overall, I'm comfortable with this contingency, and by the first meeting in April, we will know what the filed sub bids are, and by the second meeting, we would be ready to award pending funding approval at town meeting. Erwin, I see you have your hand up.
Yeah, not to belabor this, but just based on what you just described, the different material components, if we assume the $500,000, that would be with a 25% above that would be 125,000. So it looks like our contingency would be able to absorb that.
I agree.
Yep.
Very good. Any other questions or comments regarding the library upgrade phase one? Okay, hearing none, we have two invoices. The chair will move that the committee, excuse me, that the committee approve the invoice for payment from Utile Incorporated for January 2025 services in the amount of $44,315.00 of the architect's budget. Is there a second on that motion?
Second.
Thank you, George. Discussion? Okay. Hearing none, we'll proceed to the roll call vote. Stuart,
Aye.
Lynn,
Aye.
Bob,
Aye.
George,
Aye.
Irwin,
Aye.
and okay, Erhard,
Aye.
okay, Rob,
Aye.
and chair votes aye. You. The second invoice, which was added late this afternoon, is had just come in, as I understand it, from Lyro Hill. Excuse me. The chair will move that the committee approve the invoice for payment from Lyro Hill for services from December 2024 through February of 2025 in the amount of $19,322.50. It's out of the miscellaneous budget. Is there a second on that motion?
Second.
Thank you, Lynn. Discussion? Okay, hearing none, we'll proceed to the roll call vote. Stuart,
Aye.
Lynn,
Aye.
Bob,
Aye.
George,
Aye.
Irwin,
Aye.
Erhard,
Aye.
Rob,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye. Thank you. Any other business before the committee with respect to the library phase 1 project? Yes,
Yeah.
Hank.
Yeah, I see Nicole is now with us. We've been discussing with Utile the potential of putting in a deduct alternate for portions of the ceiling. And that would be our fallback if the bids come in way too high. Nicole, do you want to mention that at all?
Sure. Yeah, we were planning to prepare an addendum for this Friday, which would include a deduct alternate for some of the banquettes, where we could instead do those as furniture, which would likely have a savings based on our past experience. And then also for the ceiling, we are carrying a wood ceiling in the lounge, and we can prepare a deduct alternate for a tectum ceiling, which would likely have savings as well. So those two deduct alternates we're planning to issue at the end of the week.
And we could, once we receive the bids, then we would determine whether we need to accept any of those just to stay on track. We hopefully will not be faced with that, but that gives us a relief valve.
So first the casework, then the ceiling. Because you have to take it in order, right?
Right, that was our plan.
All right, any other questions or comments before we move on? Very good. Well, thank you to our guests this evening for the library phase 1 project. We're going to move on to the next item, which is the DPW complex phase 1. And for that, we'll recognize Hank.
Yes, thank you. And let's see, we had a walkthrough on site on Sunday. And Bob, thank you for coming. Catherine, thank you for coming. Shane, you were great. Appreciate all of your assistance. I'd say we had about 24 people or so. And what Tyler from Weston and Sampson brought 6 boards. We had those inside the existing building. And prior to the meeting, we had put cones out around the perimeter, showing the corners of the proposed building. So after a walkthrough and discussion inside, showing folks the, well, going all the way back to some of the pictures that we had from the flood and identifying the need associated with this project through a bit of the master plan and then a focus on the site plan and the floor plans of the building, along with the three-dimensional image. I did send that a PDF of those boards to the committees. I can share those if you want to get into any details. We received, and Shane, you can add to this, but we were hearing several concerns. One was traffic. Will this increase traffic? Another was the total cost of the building, and the appropriation that will be coming in May town meeting. There was some concern about disruption on Central Avenue when we're putting in the force main to get up to the sewer. And noise, question about will this facility be generating noise? And we did talk about the ground source heat pumps and how those how that system will function and the sustainability opportunities. And we also mentioned that while we want to afford solar, that will be an ad alternate within the bid process. Shane, were there any other comments you can recall?
No, I think the only other comment I'd say, Hank, is it seemed to be that a lot of the attendees were concerned about the cost for the pollard, and we're linking those two costs together as opposed to separating them out like we've done intentionally. So what we really focused on is explaining to everyone that after we did the DPW feasibility study, that we phased it into 5 separate phases, that these phases are not contingent upon each other. So you could build phase 1 and not have to do phase 2, vice versa with phase 2 to phase 3. And we also explained to them that we strategically broke these into 5 phases with a target of 18 to 19 million per phase to keep it within the budget constraints. So I think that was the biggest thing, is like Hank said, the traffic impact or potential traffic impact, and then the confusion of this project competing with the Pollard project or the overall DPW phases competing with Pollard.
Bob, did you hear any other comments?
Yes, I did. Thanks. One was a resident from up further on Central Ave who was speaking on her memory, but based on when the original building was built there, that there were assurances, maybe a word we could use, that there would be no increased staff there. I think she claimed that that's sort of how it was presented to the town to vote on, that this would be storage and equipment and very few personnel. And I think her inference is that she feels that this might be now changing, and she was curious as to how that gets rationalized. I don't know if you recall that, but I do remember her talking about that.
Yeah, I was there when she was talking about that, so I'd concur with what Bob said. The only other thing I would say is just kind of in reference to that is the question was asked, if we build this building, does DPW or does the town have the intention of bringing the entire DPW to the site, which we clarified and said we do not have that intention. And due to the site constraints, it would be nearly impossible to do, even if that were a thought. So, but the resident did say that when the original Cogswell was built, is that town meeting members in the town was told that that building would only be used twice a year, and that was to switch the the summer over to winter and winter over to summer. And now we're looking at it as a full-time use with a fleet garage going there.
So those, hopefully we answered some or all of those questions. If any of you do want to visit the site, I believe the cones are still out there. I don't know when you'll retrieve them.
I plan on leaving them out there until we need to take them away, just for people's references. That way, if anyone ever wants to stop by the site and kind of get a visual of where the building would be, you can identify it by the cones. Oh, there was one other thing we might want to mention is big question on whether or not the building would be able to be seen from Central, which the height of the building at 34 feet roughly. We said it wouldn't be able to because the ledge outcrop there is much higher than the 34 feet. So where that building would be is, and we looked at it visually, the only way you could see that visually would be the immediate abutter, which is the greenhouse, and I'm not sure what the address is there. They could see the building during the winter time when the leaves are off the trees, but in the summertime with everything forested out, it would block their visual of the building.
And I think we all recognize that there will need to be a lot of blasting done in order to remove that rock, and then crushing if any of the rock is to be reused on the site. And that would be really all the way around the perimeter, the back perimeter of the site. So those are all the primary impacts, and I'm sure that these issues will be discussed, or we'll need to begin to prepare the FAQs for town meeting, and we'll try to address these issues in those FAQs.
I would say, Hank, though, I even though we had these questions and concerns, I did not hear from anyone who was an adamant, absolutely no, or absolutely not, this building should not go to this location. It was more just the concerns about the traffic or the competition with the funding.
And also, Shane, I think you will be offering a tour to town meeting members of the existing 470.
That's correct. We talked about it with Karis today, and in the month of April, we'll probably do it on a weekend as well. And we may just open that up to anyone in the town that wants to come and take a tour of the existing conditions that the employees are working in.
Any other questions or comments regarding the DPW complex phase 1?
Richard?
Yes.
One thing, just want to mention, the DD drawings came out. They've gone off to the estimators, and we have a reconciliation meeting the 26th, I believe it is. And so at the following PPVC meeting, the first one in April, we'll be presenting the reconciled estimates for the project.
Very good. All right. There's no other questions before the committee. We have one change order. That's from Weston and Sampson. The chair will move that the committee approve the PSS from Weston and Sampson. That's PSS number 2 for JCB ground source heat pump well. That's in the amount of $172,783.00 out of the designer budget. Is there a second on that motion?
Sure, I'll second.
Thank you, Bob. Discussion on the motion.
And I think you may want to talk a little bit about why it's so big.
Yeah. First of all, the well is 1,600 feet deep, and a round number rule of thumb is about $100 a foot for drilling. So it's sort of within that benchmark. Actually, the actual drilling costs are only about 143 of that. The rest of it's the markup, the insurance, the blah, blah, blah. So it's 1,600 feet deep. On the positive side, though, is they're looking at 2 to 4 wells, and the result of this well drilling will be will determine whether it's two, 3, or 4 wells. But this would take out of doing it now would eliminate the contractor carrying this well. So it's kind of an offset to the contract cost. The only drawback would be is if the ground source heat pumps are too rich for our blood in the overall bid. And we have to take the add alternate that would eliminate it and go to straight air source heat pumps. But right now the contingency can handle it. And so we get out in front of that so they can complete the design. And this is a different, little different than what we have at PSAB. That was a closed loop system. Over there they were, Barry, what'd you say to me the other day? They were like 23 or something wells at PSAB.
I think 16, is it?
16.
16. Yeah. So here we're only going to have 3 or 4 and, or 2 to 4 rather. So it's a little different setup than what we have at PSAB. But that it seems excessive from the first look, but it's overall, when you figure that a system like PSAB, about 50,000 a well, and if we're looking at even 10, it's a much higher cost than what we're looking at for 2 to 4 here at with the deep wells.
So we can proceed then. The motion's been made and seconded, I believe. Is that correct, Catherine?
Yes.
Okay.
Great.
Yeah, perfect.
Seconded?
Great.
Yes, it was seconded.
Great. All right, we'll proceed to the roll call vote then. Stuart?
Aye.
Lynn?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
George?
Aye.
Erwin?
Aye.
Barry?
Aye.
Shane?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Thank you. Any other items of business regarding the DBW Complex Phase 1 before we move on?
Nope.
Okay, hearing none, we will move on. Thank you very much, Shane, for joining us tonight. Appreciate it. The next item for business is the miscellaneous project invoices, and we have 2 from, excuse me, theater for theater sound and light improvements. The first, both from Hugh Shot. The committee will, the chair will move that the committee approve the invoices for payment from Hugh Shot for February 2025 services for SAC 2 services in the amount of $2,146.25, and February 2025 services at Newman for $8,000 even, for a total of $10,146.25 coming out of the designer budget. Is there a second on that motion?
I'll second.
Thank you, Bob. Discussion on the motion? Okay, hearing none, we'll proceed to the roll call vote. Stuart?
Aye.
Lynn?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
George? George? Okay. Erwin?
Aye.
Okay, and Lisa, are you vote? Are you a voting member? Are you agency representative on this project? I can't recall.
No.
offhand.
I think it was
Okay.
Ann and Leanne, but they're
Okay,
not.
right. Okay, right. It's not here tonight. Okay, so the chair votes aye. George, one more time. No, hearing that. Okay. The motion does carry, and that will take care of that particular invoice. Is there anything else before the committee regarding PBC other business? Okay, hearing none. There's nothing before the committee regarding items not anticipated reasonably before the 48 hours before the agenda publication. So I think we are in good shape then to proceed to the motion to adjourn.
Well, one
yes, go ahead.
question, yeah. So on the next meeting, which is on the 24th, we anticipate having the bids back on the roofing for the Broad Meadow. So it might be, that might be the only item on the agenda. Otherwise, and I think it'd behoove us to accept, assuming we get a bid and assuming it's a reasonable bid, to accept that. So it would be a short agenda, but we would appreciate people's participation.
Very good. Okay. The only thing other item of note is that based on from what I understand, there's been no activity regarding any potential extension of the emergency declaration for permitting the hybrid meetings format that we've been working under over the past few years. So we presume that we will be moving forward to in-person meetings going forward as of the first meeting in April. Yes, hey.
Yeah, and I should also mention that we have sent out or published the RFS, request for services, for the Pollard project for design services. And the walkthrough of Pollard will be happening next week. And then the proposals are due also on the 3rd of April. Once those are received, then the employee OPM, our team, needs to package those, go through the reference checks, and will share the information with you, but the decision-making body and selection body is the MSBA design review panel. So I would think that we would want to discuss probably in April as to who would be assigned from the school committee to be sitting on that board for this project. And Lisa, maybe you've already had discussions with Dan about that?
I have not. We were actually scheduled to have a meeting this morning, and he was otherwise occupied over at High Rock, as you can imagine. So, but I will talk to him about that soon. Thank you.
Great. And then we'll, once those 3 people are identified, we will share all the submissions with you in digital form, but we have to go through our due diligence, get reference checks and all that kind of stuff. And the first meeting with the MSBA design review panel will be reviewing all the submittals and shortlisting. And then the second meeting, which would be in May, would be the interviews of the selected teams and then a ranking of those teams.
Very good. Any other business before the committee before we move to adjourn? Okay, hearing none. Is there a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Sure.
Okay, Bob, thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to the roll call vote. Stuart?
Aye.
Lynn?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
George? George? Okay, Erwin?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Okay, thank you. We stand adjourned. Thank you very much, all. Good night.
Good night.
Have a good night.
Rich, do you have a second?
Yes.
Just want to stay on after we stop recording for some mundane housekeeping stuff.
I stopped the recording. Hold on.